everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to another Makers with Heart Mystery Envelope Challenge. This month, Amanda sent out the mystery envelopes to all the Makers with Heart and we all got the same thing, and her challenge is for us to create our own patterned papers using stamps, or we can modify the papers that she's included. Okay. So I'm going to make a series of cards. The first one, I'm going to use the stamp set called Tailgategreetings. Okay, so I'm going to start out by trimming down some cardstock. I'm going to focus, all my cards are going to be using the same cardstock colors. I've narrowed down the color selection just to show you that you can make several different types of cards with a few supplies, a few different cardstocks and a few different inks. Okay, so I've got the light side of Glacier here, and I've cut a strip at 1 inch by 5.5. And then I've got the light side of the Color of the Year. It's called Journey. And I'm also cutting a strip at 1 inch by 5.5. And then I've got the regular side of Glacier, and I've cut down a piece at 3 by 5.5. Okay, so now I'm going to do some stamping, and I have some scratch paper behind this piece of Glacier so that I can stamp over the edges. And I'm just going to random stamp this truck image in Journey ink all over this piece of Glacier. So I'm just going to stamp several times and create a random stamping pattern. So this will be some patterned background paper. So I'm just going to squish as many of these trucks in here as I can. And then I'll be layering an image over this piece. Okay, so we have that done, and then I'm going to bring in some white daisy, and I'm going to cut this white daisy piece with the coordinating thin cut. So I'm just cutting a square at 4 by 4. And then I'm going to stamp my truck out again in black ink because I'm going to color it in using some tri-blend markers. Get that inked up nicely and stamped out. Okay, we'll set that aside and I'll color it in off camera. And then I'm going to pull this set again, and I'm going to pull one of the small images that fits in that license plate. And it says, "You are great." And I'm going to stamp that in Journey. And then I'm going to pull the large thank and you to create my main sentiment. And I'm just seasoning this stamp. If you rub it on your skin, it'll remove the coating that's left behind from production, and then it makes it ready to take ink, and your ink should not bead up after you season your stamp. So we'll ink that up and get "thank you" stamped out on this piece of Glacier. And then I have this other patterned stamp, and I'm going to stamp it a couple of times on the edge of this Journey. So it's tone on tone Journey ink on the light side of Journey cardstock. And then I'll be trimming that down off camera. And then I've got this "You Are Great," and I'm going to stamp it along this strip of white daisy, and I'll be trimming that down as well. So it turns out to be about 1/4 inch strip after it's trimmed. So I'm just stamping repeatedly to make a row. Okay, so now I've pulled all my tri-blends, and off camera I've colored in the truck, and then I've die cut it with the coordinating die, and then I've cut 2 more in white so I can stack them for dimension and sturdiness. And then when you stack your paper, you don't have to use foam tape, but it gives that dimension. Okay, so now I'm going to start laying things out on my card front. And so I've got that strip that I've stamped, and then my thank you, and then the strip that says you are great. And then I wanted another strip below the truck of that diagonal striped stamped strip. So we'll add that. And then I want a little bit of shimmer. So I'm going to bring in some silver shimmer trim, and we'll cut that at 5.5 inches. And I didn't want the full half inch, so the way to trim your shimmer trim is I like to use a little tape runner on the back of it so I can set it down in my trimmer and keep it from moving, and then just cut it in half. Okay, so we have all the components, and I'm going to speed this up super fast, and I'm just gluing everything together the way that I had it all laid out. And I'm using Nuvo wet glue with the Precision glue press. Makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker to use glue. And it's got a needle tip, so it looks like I might be using a lot of glue here, but really it's not. It dries clear and it dries fast. So I'm just layering everything up the way that I had it all laid out. Get all these down, and that strip that I stamped, and then our shimmer trim. It's self-adhesive, so you just pull that clear backing off. You can add that, and I'll add the truck. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in some of these Journey glitter gems. They are so pretty in real life. The color is just stunning. I love these. And put one on each side of my sentiment. And to finish it off, I've got some liquid glass, and I'm squeezing some of that out on the back window of the truck. And as it dries, it gets clear, so it might look a little bit cloudy at first, but then as it dries, it clears up. Okay, and here's that finished card. It's a great masculine card, but you can send it to anyone you like. I like it, so yeah, so those are some close-ups. Next card, I'm going to use this scenery stamp, and it's called Alpinescene. And I'm going to ink it up in black ink, and I'm going to be coloring these in with colored pencils. I'll do that off camera. So I'm inking it up in black ink on a piece of white daisy. And then I'm going to take another piece of white daisy, and I've put it into my larger Misty. I've cut the white daisy cardstock at, it started out at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I'll trim it down later on. And I'm shifting my stamp so that part of it is on the left side, and then I'll shift the whole card base there, and then I'm going to place the other side of the stamp on the right side. I'm stamping also in Journey. So I'm going to lay this first one down so that I can keep everything along the same line. So it looks like a continuous line. And then I'll stamp that out. So I'm just inking up part of the stamp. And I'll stamp that out on the right side. So then when I put the black inked image, it's going to look like a continuous line. Okay. So off camera, I'm going to cut this window frame die, and I've cut it 2 more times in white so that I can stack them. So I've cut it in Journey cardstock, and then off camera I've colored in that scene with colored pencils. Okay, so we'll start building our card. I have my card base here, and I'm just going to lay it all out, and we'll go ahead and stack those window frames first. Just simple gluing, and it just adds a little strength to the window frame, thin cut, and gives some dimension. Okay, so I felt like this card needed a frame around the edges rather than the design going off the edges of the card itself. So I'm going to back it with some black, which means off camera I needed to trim down that base. So my black is at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and then I've trimmed about a 1/16 of an inch off of each side of that base, and then I've got my window frame. Okay, so these are the white word strips, and they're a lightweight chipboard and great for sentiments. So my sentiment is coming from the Stamp of the Month called Say It With Flowers, and it says thinking of you. It has really pretty font. So I'm going to stamp that out in black. And this is kind of, I've pulled from the word strips, this is kind of a book plate strip, and it fits that sentiment perfectly. So we'll get that stamped out. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling. So again, I've set this up super fast, just layering everything in the way I had it all laid out, using some wet glue. And then we'll attach that window frame to the scene, and then the whole thing to the card. So then it appears to be a continuous line, kind of a spotlight technique, sort of, and a little artistic license with the window and the scenery around it. Maybe it's a reflection. Okay, then I'm going to add that book plate and a couple more of these sparkle gems in Journey on either side. And then for the last step, I'm going to add some stickles. So these are the diamond stickles, and I'm going to add those to the snow on the mountains, on the mountain peaks in the scene. And I think this last touch just really makes the card. They just shimmer and sparkle and really catch your eye and catches the light. It's very cool. So we'll have some close-up shots in a second. I think this is my favorite card of the bunch. And here's some close-up shots. Super easy scene to color in. I wasn't super careful. I just colored it in quickly and just laid down some colored pencil there. Okay, third card, I'm going to use the February Stamp of the Month, Say It With Flowers, and then I'm going to use this background paper that Amanda stamped for us. This one's on linen with, I believe, pewter ink, or yeah, I think so. And she's just random stamped all these flower images onto this whole panel. And then I've taken some of the flowers and put them in my Misty, and I'm inking them up with black ink on white daisy cardstock, and I'm stamping those out, and off camera I'm going to color those in with tri-blend markers, and then I'll be using the coordinating dies to cut them out. Some of the Stamp of the Months are now coming with thin cuts, and it's still at a discounted price, and this one is awesome. All of those images have coordinating thin cuts. Okay, so my base is going to be black, and I'm trimming that out at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And now I'm trimming this stamped piece that Amanda sent at 4 by 5 1/4. So I was just kind of looking at the design and seeing what I wanted to have seen on my card front. Now this is the postage stamp frame, 3x3 frame. And then I'm going to back it with glacier. So I'm trimming that down to a little less than 3 3/4. And then I'm going to cut the frame in also in Journey. And I've cut 2 more, like I do, so that I can add some dimension. So we're going to back that with glacier. Okay. And then I'm going to color in my flowers. First, though, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I've pulled the sentiment from Sayitwithflowers that says, "Grateful for you, friend." And I'm going to stamp that out. Now, none of the white word strips fit this particular sentiment, so I'm going to create my own. So I'm going to stamp that on white daisy, and then I'll trim around that stamped image and dovetail each end to create a banner for my sentiment on my card front. So just pop that in the trimmer and trim around it. And then we'll create our banner. And I'm cutting pretty close because I don't want to cover up that stamped pattern paper behind it. So we'll trim that down. And then to hand trim a dovetail, you just snip vertically in the center and then take each corner to meet that snip to cut your triangle out. You've got your little banner there. Okay, so that's going to be basic design of the card. And then off camera, I'm going to color in these flowers and die cut them. Okay, so I've added some dimension to each of these two with extra layers of white cardstock. And in retrospect, it added quite a bit of bulk, so you probably don't need to add extra layers to the flowers, but I was experimenting, so I made it work. Okay, so this is going to be the basic design. I'm laying everything out, and I felt like I needed something behind that banner. First, I'll lay down the square. The last thing to put on the card is the frame. So I've decided to pull some of this shimmer trim again in, and I'm going to cut that at 4 inches, and we'll lay that down for our sentiment to sit on top of, just for a little extra shimmer. So we'll get that down, put our sentiment down, and then I'll play around with the flowers and figure out the positioning of them. And I do, off camera, I trim off the ends of the stems so that they will fit within that postage frame thin cut. So I'm just kind of fussing with them and deciding how I want them to go. All right, so off camera, I've glued them all down, getting them to stick, and then we'll add that frame on top. And then, after we get that down, for the final touch, I'm going to bring in these stickles again. So I'm just going to add a dot in the center of each of these flowers. Okay, so now we've got a close-up shot here. It turned out pretty. Okay. And then for our last card, we're going to use the same set. And then I'm going to use this doily thin cut that is from Sweet Memories card making workshop. And I'm just using the doily. And this card design, it's an old favorite. I think it's from Make It From Your Heart Volume 1. And I've pre-cut some of these pieces in Journey, and I'm going to use this other piece of stamped paper that Amanda created, and sent to us. And it has all those flowers from Sayitwithflowers stamped out, and then she's added some color. So I'm just trimming this down to 3 3/4, and then I'm going to cut one at 1 1/2. The next one's at 1 3/4, and then the next one's at 1 1/2. And you need to do them in a line like this so that when you lay them on your card, they're kind of pieced together like a puzzle, but they're split, so your eye puts them together. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some glacier and cut that doily, and then again I've cut 2 more in white, and we'll stack them, and then I'm going to stamp that same sentiment, grateful for you friend, in Journey ink, and then we can assemble everything. So I will create a playlist, and I'll put a link at the end of this video and one in the description of this video as well, so that you can find all of the mystery envelope challenge videos from all the Makers with Heart, and make sure you check them out. We all got the same supplies, so see what kind of cool things they did with them. Okay, so I'm going to add a strip of shimmer trim it's also in silver, down the center of that 1-inch strip, and now I'm just gluing everything together. So I've got a border of white, piecing everything together and making sure my puzzle works. And the easiest way to do this design is to start with the center and find the center of your card and place that down, and then place the other 2 pieces on either side of that center strip, and that way they are placed on your card front evenly. And we'll add that shimmer trim and then our doily. And then to finish it off, I'm going to add some of these Journey gems. And just place a few of them around my sentiment. Nice and simple once you have that pattern paper figured out. Thanks, Amanda. Again, everyone check out the playlist at the end of this video to see all the cool things the Makers with Heart have done with these same supplies. All right, I think I like that. And here's some close-up shots. I'll bring it close to the camera. I'll have some close-up still shots at the end. And I'm just going to bring in the other 3 cards so you can check them out as well. So I'll make a list of all the supplies that I used with links in the description below. We have a little while before the end of the month to shop for these supplies. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And then you'll be able to find all of my videos. I have quite a few in the library. All right, and here's some close-up shots. And thanks for watching.